She disappeared here, the little girl said, pointing to the abandoned shipping container, but the truth they uncovered that day was terrifying. Let me know what you thought of this story with a rating from 0 to 10 and comment what city you're watching from. I really want to know if you liked my story and get to know you better, so subscribe to my channel to support my work. I'm counting on your help. The cry cut through the muggy Ohio afternoon like a blade, echoing through the parking lot of the Northwood Plaza at 4 o'clock. Arthur Sterling, 52, nearly dropped his phone as he walked toward his black BMW. It was a blood-curdling, desperate sound coming from a very small child. "Please, someone help me! My sister is gone!" The trembling voice made Arthur stop in his tracks. In front of his car stood a little girl, no more than 4 years old, her eyes soaked with tears, her small, trembling hands extended toward him. She wore a faded pink dress, torn rubber flip-flops, and her brown hair was tangled, as if it hadn't been combed in days. Arthur looked around, searching for a responsible adult. But the parking lot was nearly empty for a Saturday afternoon, just a few scattered cars and no suspicious movement. As the owner of the region's largest supermarket chain, he was used to solving problems, but a lost child wasn't exactly his area of expertise. "Where are your parents, little one?" he asked, crouching to her level. "No parents, just Chloe, my sister, and she's gone." The child's sobs intensified. "She was with me at the containers by the old factory, and when I went back, she wasn't there anymore." Arthur felt a tightness in his chest. Since his divorce 3 years ago, he had built a solid emotional wall around himself. He focused only on business, avoiding any situation that might awaken feelings he preferred to keep buried. But something in that genuine cry of despair struck a chord he thought was permanently out of tune. "What's your name?" he asked, taking a handkerchief from his suit pocket. "Lily," she replied, accepting the handkerchief and wiping her nose. "And are you going to help me find Chloe?" "Sir?" he corrected automatically, then regretted his tone. "I mean, yes, I'll help you. Where is this factory?" Lily pointed toward the north side of town. "Way out back where the big iron boxes are. Chloe said she was going to play hide and seek, but it's been a long time and she hasn't come back." Arthur glanced at his watch. He had an important meeting with suppliers in an hour, then dinner with investors from Chicago. His schedule was packed, as always. Helen, his personal assistant, would surely be calling any moment asking where he was. But when he looked at Lily again, he saw a vulnerability that hit him like a punch to the gut. The girl was clearly scared, alone, and placing all her trust in him, a complete stranger. "All right," he said, standing up. "Let's go find your sister." The phone rang. It was Helen. "Mr. Sterling, the suppliers are already here at the office. Are you on your way?" "Reschedule the meeting," he said, watching Lily, who was looking at him with hope. "An emergency came up." "What kind of emergency?" Helen's voice carried concern. In 15 years as his assistant, she knew her boss's punctual and methodical habits well. "I'll explain later. Cancel my entire schedule for today." He hung up before she could protest. Lily had approached and was timidly holding the hem of his suit jacket. "Are you really going to help me?" she asked, her eyes still glistening with tears. "I am," Arthur replied, surprised by his own determination. "Get in the car." As he drove through the familiar streets of Northwood toward the abandoned industrial zone, Arthur tried to process what he was doing. He had cancelled important meetings to follow a 4-year-old on a search that, rationally, should be a job for the authorities. "How old is Chloe?" he asked, breaking the silence. "She's 5, Lily answered, swinging her little legs on the back seat. "She's smarter than me and always takes care of me when we get scared." "Do you live alone?" Lily was quiet for a moment. "We live with Grandma Matilda sometimes. She teaches us embroidery, but sometimes we go for walks. And your parents? Mommy went away to work far away, Lily said, her voice growing smaller. And Daddy? No Daddy. They arrived at the old textile mill that had closed 5 years prior. The place was desolate, with weeds growing through cracks in the asphalt and rusted shipping containers scattered across the yard. Arthur parked near the main entrance. "Show me where you saw your sister last," he said. Lily jumped out of the car and ran toward a cluster of stacked containers. "It was here. Chloe said she would count to 100 and I had to hide. When I came back, she wasn't here anymore." For the next 2 hours, they searched every accessible container, called Chloe's name until they were hoarse, and scoured the entire grounds of the abandoned factory. They found no trace of the missing girl. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in orange and purple, Arthur found himself facing a decision that would change his life forever. Lily was exhausted, hungry, and clearly had nowhere to go. No adult had shown up looking for her. "Lily," he said, crouching to her level again, "where did you sleep last night?" The girl looked down, shuffling her feet nervously. "In the cardboard house behind the market," she murmured, "but Chloe said today we'd find a better place." Arthur's heart ached. "Do you want to come home with me tonight? We'll keep looking for your sister tomorrow." Lily's eyes lit up. "Are you really going to let me sleep at your house?" "I am," he replied, once again surprised by his own decision. "But we promise we're going to find Chloe, okay?" Lily nodded vigorously and held out her small hand. "Really promise?" "I promise," Arthur said, shaking her hand. As they drove back through the city, now lit by the evening lights, Arthur had no idea he had just committed to much more than a night's lodging. He couldn't imagine that the search for Chloe would lead him to discoveries that would shake all his certainties about family, love, and responsibility. In the back seat, Lily hummed quietly, holding the handkerchief he had given her as if it were her most precious possession. And at that moment, watching her in the rearview mirror, Arthur felt something he hadn't experienced in years. The feeling that he was exactly where he was supposed to be. Arthur Sterling's mansion was in Northwood's most exclusive neighborhood, a modern 3-story structure surrounded by impeccably manicured gardens. When the electronic gate opened, Lily pressed her face against the car window, her eyes wide at the grandeur of the property. "Do you live all alone in such a big house?" she asked, her voice filled with admiration and surprise. "I do," Arthur replied, parking in the 6-car garage. "Sometimes I feel it's too big." Helen Pierce was waiting at the kitchen door, her arms crossed and a worried expression on her face. At 45, she had become much more than a personal assistant. She was the person who kept Arthur's life in meticulous order ever since he had become a lonely workaholic after his divorce. "Mr. Sterling, I managed to reschedule the meetings for Monday, but the dinner with the investors—" Helen stopped mid-sentence when she saw Lily getting out of the car. "Who is this child?" "Helen, this is Lily," Arthur said, guiding the girl by the hand. "She's staying with us tonight. We're helping her look for her sister." Helen observed the girl with professionally critical eyes, noting the dirty clothes, tangled hair, and torn flip-flops. "Sir, you can't just bring a strange child home. What about her parents? Shouldn't we contact the authorities?" "We'll sort that out tomorrow," Arthur said, surprising himself with the firmness in his voice. "Tonight, she needs a bath, a meal, and a safe place to sleep." Lily hid behind Arthur, intimidated by Helen's serious demeanor. "Is the angry lady going to send me away?" she whispered. "I'm not angry, little one," Helen said, her expression softening slightly. "I'm just worried about you. Are you hungry?" Lily nodded shyly. "I haven't eaten since early this morning. Chloe said we'd find food after she finished playing hide-and-seek." Helen shot a questioning look at Arthur, but he just shook his head, indicating he would explain later. "Come on, I'll fix you something to eat," she said, holding out her hand to Lily. While Helen heated up lasagna in the microwave, Arthur watched Lily explore the spacious kitchen with childlike curiosity. The girl stopped in front of each appliance as if she were in a museum, gently touching the shiny surfaces. "Wow, what a big fridge," she exclaimed, trying to open the double doors. "There must be a lot of food in here." "There is," Helen said, serving a generous plate of lasagna. "When was the last time you had a bath, dear?" Lily thought for a moment, counting on her little fingers. "I think 3 days or 4. Grandma Matilda always made us take baths, but we haven't seen her in a long time." "Who is this Grandma Matilda?" Arthur asked, sitting down at the table. "She takes care of a lot of girls," Lily replied between hungry bites. "She teaches us to make pretty embroidery. There's Julia, Amanda, Sarah, a whole bunch of them." "And where is her house?" Lily stopped eating, a confused expression on her face. "I don't know exactly. It's far from here. We walked a long way to get to the city." Helen and Arthur exchanged worried glances. "Lily, did you and Chloe walk here from somewhere else?" "Uh-huh," she confirmed, returning to her food. "Chloe said we needed to find our mommy in the big city, but then we got lost and couldn't find her." "How long have you been here in Northwood?" Helen asked, pouring the girl a glass of milk. "Many days," Lily answered vaguely. "My tummy hurt from being so hungry, and Chloe always found a way for us to get food. She's very smart." After dinner, Helen prepared a bath for Lily in the guest bathroom. The girl was enchanted with the large tub and bottles of scented soap. While she played in the water, making mountains of foam, Helen took the opportunity to wash her clothes. "Mr. Sterling," she said, finding her boss in the living room. "Her clothes are in a dreadful state. Besides being dirty, they're torn in several places." "We'll buy her new clothes tomorrow," he replied, distractedly flipping through a magazine. "Sir, may I speak frankly?" Helen sat in the armchair across from him. "What really happened today? You're not the type of person to cancel important meetings to help strangers." Arthur closed the magazine and sighed. "I can't explain it either, Helen. When I saw that child crying desperately in the parking lot, something inside me just reacted. I couldn't ignore it. And this missing sister? Do you believe her story? We searched for hours at the abandoned factory and found nothing, not a single trace of another child." "Maybe we should call Child Protective Services tomorrow," Helen suggested. "Or the police." "Let's give it a few more days," Arthur said. "I want to try to find this Grandma Matilda she mentioned, if there really is an unregistered shelter." At that moment, they heard Lily singing in the bath, a childish melody echoing through the halls of the mansion. It was a sound the house hadn't heard in years, since before the divorce, when the possibility of children was still in Arthur's future. "She has a sweet voice," Helen commented, her expression softening. "She does," Arthur agreed. "It makes the house feel less empty." When Lily came out of the bath, wrapped in an adult-sized robe that dragged on the floor, her clean hair revealed golden highlights that weren't visible before. She looked like a completely different child. "Can I sleep in the big bed?" she asked, looking hopefully at Arthur. "I'll get the guest room ready for you," Helen said. "But what if Chloe comes back during the night? She won't know where I am." Anxiety returned to Lily's face. "If she comes back, we'll find her," Arthur promised. "We'll keep looking tomorrow." Helen prepared a bed in the coziest guest room in the house, with floral sheets and several pillows. Lily lay down, but her eyes remained open, fixed on the ceiling. "I can't sleep," she murmured. "Chloe always stays by my side until I fall asleep." "Do you want me to stay here until you fall asleep?" Helen offered, surprising herself with the suggestion. "You'll stay?" Lily's eyes shone with gratitude. Helen sat in the chair beside the bed. "I will. Do you want me to tell you a story?" "Chloe always told stories about princesses," Lily said, snuggling into the pillows. Then I'll tell you about a very brave princess, Helen began, her voice taking on a maternal tone she didn't know she possessed. While Helen told the story, Arthur passed by the hallway and stopped at the half-open door. He watched his assistant, always so professional and distant, caring for this child with genuine tenderness. And he heard Lily giggle at the funny details of the story. In that moment, something fundamental changed in the dynamic of that house. For the first time in years there was life, human warmth, and the feeling that those enormous rooms had finally found their purpose. But as Lily peacefully drifted off to sleep, neither of the adults imagined that the upcoming revelations about the mysterious Chloe would shake all their certainties about reality, abandonment, and the mechanisms a child develops to survive the deepest loneliness. Outside, the Northwood night was silent, but inside the mansion, an unlikely family was beginning to form around secrets that were yet to be discovered. The next morning, Arthur woke to a sound he hadn't heard in his house for years. Childish laughter echoing from the kitchen. He came downstairs to find Lily sitting on the kitchen counter, swinging her little legs while Helen prepared pancakes. "Good morning!" Lily exclaimed excitedly, wearing an oversized t-shirt Helen had found in a closet of old clothes. "Aunt Helen is making pancakes shaped like hearts." "Good morning, little one," Arthur replied, noticing how her presence had transformed the atmosphere. Helen was smiling as she cooked, something he rarely saw. "Mr. Sterling," Helen said, serving the pancakes, "Lily told me a few more things about this Grandma Matilda. It seems there really is a house where several children stay." "It's true," Lily confirmed, grabbing a heart-shaped pancake. "Grandma teaches everyone embroidery. I can make little flowers. Want to see?" The girl hopped off the counter and ran to the living room, returning with a small piece of fabric she pulled from the pocket of her dirty dress from the day before. It was delicate embroidery, with small yellow flowers made with precise stitches. Impressive for someone only 4 years old. "You made this?" Arthur asked, examining the work. "Grandma Matilda taught me. She says girls who know how to embroider never go hungry because they can always sell their work." Helen and Arthur exchanged significant glances. The story was becoming more consistent, but also more worrying. "Lily," Arthur said carefully, "do you remember the name of the town where Grandma Matilda's house is?" The girl thought, her little forehead wrinkled. "I don't remember the name, but it had a big church in the middle and lots of colorful houses." "And how did you get from there to here?" "Chloe said we had to find Mommy. She heard someone say our mom was in a city with lots of big stores." Lily stopped eating, a sudden sadness clouding her eyes. "But we didn't find her, and then Chloe disappeared too." Just then, Arthur's phone rang. It was Robert Davis, his lawyer and longtime friend. "Arthur, I need to talk to you urgently," Robert said without preamble. "I heard you cancelled important meetings yesterday. Is everything okay?" "I'll explain later, Robert. Why the urgency?" "I received a strange call this morning, a woman asking if I knew anyone looking for 2 missing girls." Arthur's heart raced. "What woman?" "She didn't want to identify herself, just said she knew of 2 children who were lost in Northwood and that someone might be worried." "Robert, I need you to investigate this discreetly. I'll explain the situation to you in person." After hanging up, Arthur turned to Lily, who was playing with the leftover pancake, seemingly oblivious to the phone conversation. "Lily, are you sure Chloe was with you yesterday morning?" "Of course I am," she replied, as if the question were obvious. "She was right next to me when we got to the big boxes. She said she was going to hide first, and I had to count." "And you saw her go into one of the containers?" Lily stopped playing with her food. I think I saw her, but there were so many boxes and they all looked the same." Helen noticed the hesitation in the girl's voice. "Honey, did Chloe say anything before she hid?" "She said..." Lily paused as if trying to remember something important. She said that if we couldn't find Mommy, maybe it would be better if we split up. Split up why? Arthur asked, crouching to her level. Because two girls attract more attention than one. And Chloe always takes care of me, but sometimes she gets tired. The answer brought an uncomfortable silence. To the kitchen, there was something in the way Lily talked about Chloe that was beginning to bother both adults. "Lily," Helen said gently, "can you tell me how you met Chloe?" "We've known each other forever," she answered quickly. "She's my sister." "Blood sister or heart sister?" "Heart sister," Lily admitted. "But it's the same thing. Grandma Matilda said all the girls at the house are sisters." Arthur decided to try a different approach. "What other girls lived at the house with you?" There was Julia, who's 6 and knows how to embroider birds. Amanda, who's 7 and always shared her food with me when I was really hungry. Sarah, who's 5 and tells funny stories before bed. "And where are they now?" Lily was quiet for a long moment. "I don't know. When we left to find Mommy, they stayed there." "Why did only you two leave?" "Because—" She hesitated as if trying to find the right words. "Because Chloe said we had to look for our real mom, not Grandma Matilda." Helen sat next to Lily. "Sweetie, can you describe Chloe for me? What does she look like?" "She's pretty," Lily said, her eyes shining. "She has long brown hair, just like mine. And she's brave, never afraid of anything. She always protects me when I get scared." "And is she taller than you?" "A little. She's 5, so she's bigger." "What clothes was she wearing yesterday?" Lily thought carefully. "A blue dress. Or was it pink? I don't remember clearly." The vagueness of her answers was making Arthur increasingly worried. He decided to run a test. "Lily, when you two arrived at the mall yesterday, were you together?" "We were," she replied without hesitation. "And what did Chloe say when you saw me?" Lily paused, a confused expression crossing her face. She told me to ask for help. But I didn't see her. I only saw you." "That's because she was hiding," Lily said quickly. "She always hides when there are adults around. She only comes out when it's just me." Helen and Arthur exchanged another look, filled with meaning. The story was getting stranger with every question. Just then, the doorbell rang. It was Robert Davis, who had decided to come in person to understand the situation. "Arthur, I need to meet this child," he said, entering the kitchen. Lily immediately hid behind Helen, intimidated by the tall man in a suit. "You don't have to be afraid," Robert said gently. "I'm a friend of Arthur's. I just want to help you find your sister." "Do you know Chloe?" Lily asked, slowly peeking out from behind Helen. "I haven't had the pleasure yet," Robert replied, "but I'd very much like to meet her. Where do you think she might be?" "I don't know," Lily replied, starting to cry. "She's never been away from me for this long. What if she's hungry? What if she's scared?" "Easy, little one," Helen consoled, hugging her. "We're going to find her." Robert motioned for Arthur to indicate they needed to talk privately. The two men went to the office. "Arthur, there's something very strange about this story," Robert said as soon as they closed the door. "The call I received this morning. The woman seemed to know exactly that you were involved." "What do you mean?" "She specifically mentioned a Northwood businessman who had found a girl at the mall. How could she know that?" Arthur felt a chill run up his spine. "Did someone see us yesterday?" "Possibly, but there's something else. I did some quick research on unregistered group homes in the area. I found references to a certain Matilda Croft." "You found her where?" "In the Child Protective Services files. She lost her license to care for children 5 years ago, but there are rumors she continues to take in abandoned girls." "And where is she located?" "On a rural property about 40 miles from Northwood. The address is vague, but I can get more detailed information." Arthur looked out the office window, watching Lily play in the garden under Helen's watchful eye. The girl was chattering away to herself, gesturing as if she were talking to someone invisible. "Robert," he said slowly, "I think we've found the problem. The question isn't where Chloe is. The question is if Chloe really exists." Robert's suspicion echoed in Arthur's mind for the rest of the day. As he watched Lily play in the garden, he noticed details that had previously gone unnoticed. The way she talked to herself, gesturing animatedly, as if responding to questions only she could hear. Sometimes she would stop abruptly mid-sentence, cock her head as if listening, and then smile or nod in agreement. "Chloe said the red flowers are the prettiest," Lily commented during lunch, pointing to the garden through the dining room window. "Is Chloe here now?" Helen asked carefully. Lily looked around the table, her eyes stopping on an empty chair. "She's over there next to me. She always sits next to me." An uncomfortable silence filled the room. Arthur and Helen avoided looking at each other, both processing the same unsettling conclusion. "Lily," Arthur said gently, "can you ask Chloe to come talk to us?" "She's shy with adults," Lily replied quickly. "She only talks to me, but she said you're good people and I can trust you." After lunch, while Lily rested watching cartoons in the living room, Arthur received a call from Robert with information that would completely change the course of the investigation. "I've located Matilda Croft's property," Robert said bluntly. "It's on the county road that connects Northwood to Paragon, but there's something disturbing in the information I found." "What did you discover?" "Matilda Croft, 67, a widow, did indeed lose her license to care for children in 2018, but not for administrative irregularities, as we initially thought." Arthur felt his stomach clench. "Why then?" "For reports of emotional neglect. Several children who passed through. They developed psychological problems, including episodes of creating imaginary friends and difficulty distinguishing reality from fantasy." The revelation hit Arthur like a punch. "Robert, are you suggesting that—" "I'm suggesting that Lily may have developed Chloe as a defense mechanism to cope with extreme abandonment and loneliness, and that this Matilda may have contributed to it, even if unintentionally. We need to go there." "I agree, but be prepared for what we might find. According to the records, other children who left that place took months to readjust to reality." That afternoon, Arthur decided to run a test. He asked Helen to take Lily to the mall to buy new clothes, while he would stay home to take care of some business. The girl's reaction was immediate and revealing. "But what about Chloe?" she asked, clearly distressed. "She can't stay here alone." "Chloe can come with us," Helen suggested. "She doesn't like places with lots of people," Lily replied, starting to cry. "What if she gets lost in the house? What if she doesn't know where I went?" "Lily," Arthur said, crouching to her level, "where exactly is Chloe right now?" The girl pointed to the empty space beside her. "Right here. She's afraid you can't see her." "Why would we think we can't see her?" "Because adults sometimes stop seeing important things," Lily answered, with a wisdom that was unsettling for her 4 years. "Grandma Matilda said that when we get older, we lose the magic of seeing special friends." Lily's phrase brought a new dimension to the situation. It wasn't just a child creating an imaginary friend. It was a child who had been taught that this creation was normal, even desirable. "Lily," Helen said, sitting on the floor to be at her level, "at Grandma Matilda's house, did other girls also have special friends like Chloe?" "Some did," she confirmed. "Julia had a sister named Sophia that only she could see. Amanda had an invisible puppy named Rex. Grandma said it was good to have special friends because they never leave like adults do." Arthur felt anger rising in his chest. A woman had deliberately encouraged abandoned children to take refuge in fantasies instead of helping them process their traumas in a healthy way. "And your mother, Lily? Do you remember her?" The girl's face clouded over. "I remember a little. She had hair like mine, but she got very tired and said she had to go away to get money." "When did she leave?" "A long time ago. I was very little. Chloe helped me not be too sad." "Was Chloe already with you when your mother left?" Lily hesitated, as if trying to organize confusing memories. "I think so. Or maybe she appeared later. I don't remember clearly." That night, after Lily had fallen asleep, Arthur and Helen had a serious conversation on the porch. "Mr. Sterling, this situation is more complex than we imagined," Helen said. "This girl needs professional help." "I know," he replied, looking at the stars. "But I can't just hand her over to the system. Look how she's blossomed in just one day with us. She's eating well, sleeping well, smiling, but she's still living in a fantasy. And maybe it's too soon to take that away from her." Robert said other children took months to readjust. "Let's first understand the whole situation." "What are you thinking?" "Tomorrow we're going to visit this Matilda. I want to hear her version of the story, and I want to understand exactly how Lily ended up with that woman." The next morning, Lily woke up more agitated than usual. She said Chloe had had nightmares during the night and was worried about something. "She said we shouldn't go back to Grandma's house," Lily recounted during breakfast. "She's afraid of something that might happen there." "Afraid of what?" Arthur asked. "She won't say, but she said maybe it's better if we stay here forever." The statement brought a mix of emotions to Arthur. On one hand, he was touched that Lily, through Chloe, was expressing a desire to stay with them. On the other, he was worried about what might have happened at Matilda's house to generate so much fear in the child. "Lily, at Grandma Matilda's house, were you treated well?" "Grandma was nice," she replied, "but sometimes she got mad when we couldn't do the embroidery right. And there were women who would come to pick up girls sometimes." "What women?" "I don't know. They would talk to Grandma and take some of the girls away. Grandma said they were going to new families." "And did you want to go to a new family?" Lily shook her head. "I wanted to stay with Chloe, and Chloe didn't want us to be separated, just." Then Arthur's phone rang. It was a raspy female voice he didn't recognize. "You have something that belongs to me," the voice said without introduction. "Who is this?" "You know very well. The girl who's with you came from my house." Arthur's blood ran cold. "Matilda? Lily is a troubled child. She has serious mental problems. You don't know what you're getting yourself into. If you want her back, you can come get her. But I'll want explanations about the conditions she was living in." "It's not that simple," Matilda replied, her voice carrying a subtle threat. "This girl has a history. The authorities will want to know why you have her without legal authorization." The call ended abruptly, leaving Arthur with more questions than answers. But one thing had become clear. Matilda Croft was not just a well-intentioned old woman caring for abandoned children. There was something much darker behind that operation, and now she knew where Lily was. Matilda's veiled threat put Arthur on high alert all morning. He once again cancelled his work commitments and decided he needed to act quickly before the situation became even more complicated. Robert arrived at noon with information that would make everything even more disturbing. "Arthur, I got more details on Matilda Croft," he said, sitting in the office, "and the situation is worse than we imagined." "Tell me." "She's not just irregularly caring for children. There are suspicions she's involved in an illegal child placement scheme." Arthur felt his stomach turn. "What kind of placement?" "Families who want to adopt without going through the legal process. They pay large sums to Matilda, and she hands over the children without proper documentation. Child Protective Services has been investigating, but they've never been able to get concrete evidence. And the children? Do they know what's happening? Apparently not. Matilda tells them they're going to new families and that they should forget the past. That's why she teaches them activities like embroidery, to keep the children occupied and docile. Arthur looked out the window, watching Lily in the garden, chatting animatedly with her invisible Chloe. The girl laughed and gestured, completely oblivious to the complexity of the situation she was involved in. Robert, if Matilda is involved in this, why did she let Lily escape? Maybe she didn't escape on her own. Maybe someone helped her. At that moment, Helen entered the office with a worried expression. "Mr. Sterling, there's a woman at the door asking for Lily. She says she's a social worker." Arthur and Robert looked at each other. "Send her in," Arthur said. The woman who entered was tall, thin, about 40 years old, with her hair in a severe bun. She wore simple but formal clothes and carried a folder of documents. "Good afternoon. I'm Brenda Adams, a social worker for the county. I received a report about a minor in an irregular situation at this residence." "What kind of report?" Robert asked, identifying himself as a lawyer. "A child of approximately 4 years old is allegedly being kept here without legal authorization from her guardians or CPS." Arthur took a deep breath. "The child is here because I found her in a state of abandonment. We are trying to locate her guardians." "May I see her?" "Of course, but first I need to ask, who made this report?" Brenda hesitated. "A concerned citizen. I cannot reveal the identity." Helen went to get Lily from the garden. When the girl entered the room and saw Brenda, her reaction was immediate and revealing. She hid behind Arthur, trembling visibly. "I don't want to go," she said, starting to cry. "Chloe said women in serious clothes always take children away." Brenda watched the girl's reaction closely. "Lily, my name is Brenda. I didn't come to take you away. I just want to talk." "Did Grandma Matilda send you?" Lily asked between sobs. The question made Brenda frown. "Do you know Matilda Croft?" "I lived at her house with other girls, but Chloe said we needed to leave." "Why did you need to leave?" Lily looked at the empty space beside her, as if consulting Chloe. Because Chloe saw things that weren't right." "What kind of things?" "Chloe said I can't tell adults who don't know her." Brenda knelt to Lily's level. "Can I meet Chloe?" "She's right here," Lily said, pointing beside her. "But you can't see her because adults forget how to see special friends." Brenda looked at Arthur and Robert with an expression that mixed concern and understanding. "May I speak with you in private?" The 3 adults went to the office, while Helen stayed with Lily. "This child has clearly been through severe trauma," Brenda said as soon as they closed the door. "The creation of imaginary friends in 4-year-olds is common, but in this case it seems to be a defense mechanism against traumatic situations." "Do you know about Matilda Croft's case?" Arthur asked. Brenda sighed. "We've been investigating her for 2 years, but we've never gathered enough evidence. The children always deny any irregularities when questioned." "Because they've been conditioned to," Robert said. "Lily was taught not to talk to adults about certain things." "Exactly. And the use of imaginary friends may have been a strategy by Matilda herself to make the children process difficult situations without directly revealing them." Arthur felt a rising anger. "Ah, you saying she used the psychological vulnerability of abandoned children to protect her illegal activities?" "It's a possibility. Mr. Sterling, I need to be clear. Legally, I cannot leave Lily here without starting a formal temporary custody process." "Then start it." "The process takes time, and during that time, if Matilda reclaims custody of the child with some document proving legal responsibility, she could take her back," Robert completed. "Exactly." At that moment, they heard a scream from the living room. The three of them ran back and found Lily in a panic, clinging to Helen. "Chloe's gone!" she screamed, desperately. She was here and she suddenly disappeared, just like at the big boxes. Helen tried to console her, but Lily was inconsolable. She said people in serious clothes make special friends disappear. She left because of the lady. Brenda approached carefully. "Lily, sometimes special friends hide when there are a lot of new people around. She might come back when things quiet down." "No, she left just like the other times," Lily sobbed desperately. "When strange adults show up, Chloe disappears and takes a long time to come back." The revelation brought a new dimension to the situation. At times, Brenda asked, "has this happened before?" "At Grandma's house, when the women came to get the girls, Chloe always disappeared. And the girls who left, they never came back." Brenda, Arthur, and Robert exchanged looks filled with meaning. Lily was revealing through her crisis far more than any formal questioning could extract. "Lily," Brenda said gently, "do you remember any specific girl who left?" "Julia left last month. Amanda left before her. Whenever the women came, someone would disappear." "And after they left, did you know where they were?" Lily shook her head. "Grandma said they had gone to happy families and couldn't talk to us anymore." "And why did you and Chloe leave?" Lily looked again at the empty space, as if Chloe had returned. "Because Chloe heard Grandma on the phone saying I was next, and she got scared." The silence that followed was heavy with disturbing implications. Lily had run away from Matilda's house not on a childish whim, but out of a genuine fear of being given away to an unknown family. "Lily," Arthur said, crouching beside her, "do you want to stay here with us?" "I do," she replied immediately. "And Chloe does, too. She said you're different from the other adults." Brenda observed the interaction with professional interest. "Mr. Sterling, I'd like to discuss the next steps. This child has clearly developed bonds with you, and forcing a separation now could cause additional trauma. What do you propose?" "I will initiate the temporary custody process in your favor while we investigate Matilda's situation, but I need you to understand, if we discover there's a living biological mother looking for the child, we'll face that situation when it arises," Arthur said firmly. "There's something else," Brenda said. "I need you to know that Matilda might try to recover Lily through legal means if she presents documents proving she was legally caring for the girl." "Then we need to act first," Robert said, "and we need proof of what really happens on that property." While the adults discussed legal strategies, Lily approached Arthur and tugged on his shirt hem. "Uncle Arthur," she said quietly, "Chloe's back, and she said something important." "What did she say?" "She remembered where Grandma Matilda hides the girl's papers. If you want, I can show you where it is." Lily's revelation about the hidden documents completely changed the dynamic of the investigation. Brenda, who had initially arrived as a bureaucratic threat, quickly became a valuable ally once she understood the gravity of the situation. "Lily," she said, crouching beside the girl, "these papers that Chloe saw, where exactly are they kept?" "In a hole in the kitchen wall," Lily replied, looking at the empty space where she imagined Chloe to be. "Behind a picture of the Virgin Mary. Chloe saw Grandma take some papers from there and show them to one of the women who came to get Julia. Do you remember what was written on those papers?" "I can't read yet, but there were pictures of girls stapled to the papers and numbers written on them." Robert and Arthur looked at each other. Documents with photos and numbers suggested a systematic catalogue of the children available for irregular adoption. "Lily," Arthur said carefully, "do you remember the way to Grandma Matilda's house?" The girl thought for a moment, again consulting her imaginary Chloe. "Chloe remembers better than I do. She said there's a wooden bridge that makes a noise when the car goes over it, and then there's a really steep hill with a blue house on the right. Anything else? There's an old rusty sign that says... She wrinkled her forehead, struggling to remember. Hope Farm. But Grandma said the name was wrong because hope was something girls couldn't have much of. The girl's phrase had a profound emotional impact on the three adults. Matilda had deliberately discouraged the children from having hope for a better life. We need to go there, Brenda said with determination. But we can't take Lily. If Matilda sees her, she might claim the girl returned voluntarily. And what if she's not there? Arthur asked. Even better, we can investigate the property without a direct confrontation. Helen, who had overheard the entire conversation, spoke up. Mr. Sterling, I'll stay with Lily, but I think you should take someone from the proper authorities to give legality to any evidence you find. Brenda is a county social worker, Robert said. That should be enough for a preliminary investigation. But first, Brenda said, I need to formalize Lily's situation here. If something goes wrong there, at least she'll be legally protected. They spent the rest of the afternoon handling the legal aspects. Robert prepared an emergency temporary custody petition, while Brenda formalized the complaint. About the irregular situation at Hope Farm, Lily, oblivious to the legal complexities surrounding her, played in the garden under Helen's watchful care. During the afternoon, something unsettling happened. Lily was drawing when she suddenly stopped and became very serious. Chloe's worried, she said to Helen. Why is she worried, honey? She said Grandma Matilda might hurt the other girls if she finds out I told the secrets. Lily's concern was valid and touched on the moral dilemma they all faced. By investigating Matilda, they could be putting other children at risk. Lily, Helen said gently, how many girls are still at Grandma's house? I think 6 or 7. Some are very little, 3 years old. They cry a lot because they want their mommies. And does Grandma take good care of them? Lily hesitated, looking at her invisible Chloe as if asking for permission to speak. Sometimes she gets mad and leaves the girls without food when they make too much noise. And when they cry for their mommy, she says that mommies who abandon their daughters don't deserve for their children to miss them. The revelation confirmed the suspicions of emotional neglect. Matilda wasn't just financially exploiting the children, but also psychologically destroying their family bonds. At the end of the afternoon, Arthur made a decision that would change everything. Robert, Brenda, we're going there early tomorrow. But I want you to know, no matter what we find there, Lily is not going back to that woman. Mr. Sterling, Brenda said, legally I can support you up to a certain point. But if the biological mother shows up, we'll deal with that when it happens. For now, my focus is on protecting this child. That night, Lily had nightmares. She woke up crying and calling for Chloe, saying she had dreamed that her imaginary friend had been taken away by the women in serious clothes. Helen comforted her for hours, and for the first time since she arrived, Lily asked to sleep in the same room as her. Chloe said it's easier to protect her if I'm not alone. Of course you can, honey, Helen said, discovering in herself a maternal tenderness she didn't know she possessed. The next morning, as they prepared to go to Hope Farm, Lily made a statement that took everyone by surprise. I don't want you to go there, she said, clinging to Arthur's leg. Why not, little one? Because Chloe said bad things could happen. She's afraid Grandma Matilda will make you disappear too. Nothing will happen to us, Arthur promised. We're adults, and we know how to take care of ourselves. But Chloe said Grandma has dangerous friends, big men who do what she says. This information made Robert and Brenda hesitate. If Matilda had security on the property, the investigation could be more dangerous than they imagined. Lily, Brenda said, what kind of big men? Men who came to get the girls with the women. They stayed outside. But Chloe saw them through the window. They were tall and had angry faces. How many men did you see? 2 or 3? Always the same ones. Robert sighed. Maybe we should consider bringing more authorities. No, Arthur said firmly. The more people, the greater the chance of alerting Matilda before we get the evidence. We'll go as 3 discreetly. Before they left, Lily made one last plea. She held Arthur's hands and looked directly into his eyes. Uncle Arthur, Chloe wants to tell you something important. What does she want to say? Lily paused for a moment as if listening to something. Then, with a seriousness that was stunning for a 4-year-old, she said, you're the first adult who really wants to protect her and not use her. And because of that, she's going to try to help you, even though she's very scared. How is she going to help us? She's going to show me in a dream exactly where the hidden papers are, and also where Grandma keeps the key to the room where they sometimes lock up the girls when they have tantrums. The last piece of information was devastating. There was a room where children were locked up as punishment. The urgency of the mission intensified. Lily, Arthur said, crouching to hug her, I promise we'll come home, and we'll bring the other girls too. Really promise? I promise. And you promise you'll stay here with Aunt Helen and be a good girl. I promise. But Chloe is going to be worried until you come back. As they headed for the road that led to Hope Farm, Arthur carried in his chest not only the determination to protect Lily, but also the responsibility to save other children still under the control of Matilda Croft. What they didn't know was that Matilda had already been warned about the investigation and that a devastating surprise awaited them at the rural property that promised hope, but delivered only suffering. The county road leading to Hope Farm was exactly as Lily had described. The wooden bridge groaned threateningly under the weight of Arthur's car, and the steep hill revealed the blue house on the right, now peeling and abandoned. The farm's rusted sign could barely be read, corroded by years of rain and neglect. There, Robert said, pointing to a property at the end of the dirt road. That must be the house. The structure was an old farmhouse, painted white but with peeling paint. There was a large yard surrounded by wooden posts and a few smaller buildings scattered around the property. What was most striking was the absolute silence of the place. It's too quiet, Brenda observed. If there are children here, they're being kept silent. Arthur parked a safe distance from the main house. Through the windows they could see movement inside, shadows passing from one room to another. Let's approach on foot, Robert suggested. If she sees us coming by car, she might hide evidence. The 3 walked cautiously to the front porch. Before they could knock, the door opened, revealing Matilda Croft. The 67-year-old woman was thin, with grey hair in a tight bun and small, suspicious eyes. She wore a dirty apron, and her hands were marked by years of hard work. I was expecting you, she said without any greeting. I knew that Lily girl would bring trouble. Mrs. Croft, Brenda said formally, I'm a county social worker, and I need to verify the living conditions of the children under your care. What children? Matilda replied cynically. There are no children here. But just then, a soft cry echoed from inside the house. Matilda turned quickly and yelled, Quiet in there! The crying stopped immediately. May I come in? Brenda asked, already moving toward the door. No, you may not. This is private property. I have legal authority to inspect locations where there is suspicion of irregularities involving minors, Brenda said, showing her identification. Matilda hesitated, but eventually moved away from the door. Do what you want, but you won't find anything irregular here. The inside of the house was dark and poorly maintained. The living room had old furniture and a strong smell of dampness. Robert immediately noticed several tiny footprints on the dusty floor, clearly from children. "Where are the children, Matilda?" Arthur asked directly. "What children? I live here alone." At that moment, Brenda opened a side door and found a hallway leading to 3 small rooms. In the first, there were 6 small makeshift beds with dirty sheets. Scattered on the floor were unfinished embroidery projects and needles. "Matilda, explain this," Brenda demanded. "They're guest rooms. Guests who are 4 years old." Robert held up one of the embroidery projects, with flower patterns, exactly as Lily described. Then they heard a whisper coming from under one of the beds. Brenda knelt and found a girl of about 5, trembling with fear. "Hello, sweetie," Brenda said softly. "My name is Brenda. Can you come out of there?" The girl came out slowly, revealing an appearance frighteningly similar to Lily's when they found her: dirty clothes, disheveled hair, large eyes full of fear. "What's your name?" Brenda asked. "Amanda," the girl replied in a low voice. Arthur's heart raced. Amanda was one of the girls Lily had mentioned, but who was supposed to have been given to a family. "Amanda, do you live here?" The girl looked nervously at Matilda before nodding. "Where are the other girls?" Robert asked. "You're not to speak with strangers," Matilda said sharply. "Amanda, go to the back room." But Amanda didn't move. Instead, she whispered, "They're hidden in the cellar." "What cellar?" Brenda asked. Matilda tried to intervene, but Arthur blocked her. "Answer the question. What cellar?" "There's no cellar in this house," Matilda lied. Amanda pointed to a door at the back of the kitchen. "Down there. Grandma makes the girls stay there when visitors come." Brenda immediately went to the indicated door. It was a heavy wooden door with a latch on the outside. When she opened it, it revealed a steep staircase descending into an underground space. "Girls," she called out, "you can come up. You're safe now." Slowly, 5 small girls climbed the stairs, ages between 3 and 7, all with the same look of neglect and fear. When they saw Matilda, they automatically shrank back and lowered their eyes. "My God," Robert murmured. "They've been trained to hide when visitors arrive." "This is a systematic operation," Brenda said, mentally documenting everything. "Matilda, you're under arrest for keeping minors in inadequate conditions." "I take care of these children," Matilda protested. "They were abandoned. I saved them from the street." "Saved them for what?" Arthur asked, his anger growing. "To sell them to the highest bidder? I place them in good families. Families that want children and can take proper care of them." "Without legal documentation," Robert said. "That's child trafficking." One of the smaller girls, about 3 years old, approached Brenda and tugged on her clothes. "Mom, did you come to get us?" "I did, sweetie. What's your name?" "Julia," she replied. Arthur and Robert looked at each other. Julia was another girl Lily had mentioned as having been given to a family. "Julia, you didn't leave here?" Arthur asked. "Grandma said I was going to leave, but then she changed her mind. She said the family didn't want me." Matilda's lie was unraveling quickly. The children who had supposedly been placed with families were still there, hidden in the cellar whenever visitors arrived. "Where are these children's documents?" Brenda demanded. "I don't have any documents," Matilda admitted. "They arrived here with nothing." "And how did they arrive?" "Their mothers brought them. Mothers who couldn't take care of them." "Liar," said a childish voice. It was Amanda who had found the courage to speak. "My mom didn't bring me here. Some men brought me after my mom went to the hospital." "Amanda, shut up," Matilda ordered. "No," the girl replied, hiding behind Brenda. "You said my mum was gone forever, but I heard you on the phone saying she was sick in the hospital." The revelation brought a new dimension to Matilda's scheme. She wasn't just taking in abandoned children. She was actively separating children from mothers in vulnerable situations. "Brenda," Robert said urgently, "I need to make some calls. If the mothers of these children are alive and looking for them, make the calls," she agreed, "and call for backup. We're going to need support to process this situation." While Robert made calls outside, Arthur remained inside the house, observing the children. They all seemed malnourished and scared, but mostly conditioned to silence and submission. "Girls," he said gently. "Do you know a girl named Lily?" All of their eyes lit up. "Lily ran away," Julia said excitedly. "She and Chloe managed to escape." "Who's Chloe?" Brenda asked. "Lily's best friend," Amanda replied. "She was very smart and always protected Lily." "Did you see this, Chloe?" The girls looked at each other, confused. "Of course we saw her," one of them said. "She was always with Lily." "What did she look like?" "She was—" Amanda hesitated, as if trying to remember something important. "She was just like Lily, but sometimes we forgot to see her." Brenda immediately understood what had happened. Matilda had not only encouraged the creation of imaginary friends, she had made the other children believe they were real. "Matilda," she said, turning to the woman, "how many children have passed through here in recent years?" "I'm not answering any more questions without a lawyer," but one of the girls answered, "A lot. New girls were always arriving and others were leaving." "Where did they go?" "Grandma said they went to families, but—" The girl hesitated. "But what?" "But Lily's Chloe said the families weren't real." At that moment, Robert returned with news that would change everything once again. "Arthur, Brenda, I got in touch with the regional hospital. There are at least 3 mothers admitted there who have reported their daughters missing in recent weeks, and one of them," he paused dramatically, "one of them is named Rachel Morgan." "Why is that name important?" Arthur asked. "Because," Robert said, consulting his notes, "Rachel Morgan is Lily's biological mother." The revelation about Rachel Morgan hit Arthur like a punch to the gut. For the past few days, he had allowed himself to imagine a future with Lily, building a fantasy of a family that was now being shattered by the reality of a biological mother who was alive and looking for her daughter. "How long has she been in the hospital?" he asked, trying to keep his voice steady. 3 weeks, Robert replied, consulting his notes. "Admitted for complications from severe pneumonia. When she was well enough to speak, the first thing she did was ask for her daughter." Brenda interrupted the conversation. "We need to focus on the current situation first. We have 6 traumatized children here who need immediate care." The girls had clustered in a corner of the room, hugging each other, watching the adults with frightened eyes. The arrival of backup, 2 social workers and a court officer, had increased their fear. "Girls," Brenda said gently, kneeling to their level, "you're leaving here today. We're going to take you to a safe place where you can eat well, take a bath, and sleep in clean beds." "And Grandma Matilda?" asked Julia, the youngest. "Grandma Matilda can't take care of you anymore?" "She's going to be mad," Amanda said, starting to cry. "She always gets very mad when girls cause her problems." The children's reaction revealed the level of psychological control Matilda wielded over them. Even while being rescued, they still feared her retaliation. While the social workers cared for the children, Arthur managed a moment alone with Brenda. "Brenda, I need to know about Rachel Morgan. Is she in a condition to care for Lily?" "We don't know yet. I'm going to the hospital today to assess the situation. But Arthur, you need to prepare yourself for the possibility of having to give Lily to her biological mother. And what if the mother isn't fit? What if she abandoned her daughter before?" From the hospital records, it seems Rachel didn't abandon Lily voluntarily. She was very ill, and apparently someone took advantage of her vulnerability to take the child. The information brought a new perspective to the whole situation. Lily wasn't an abandoned child. She was a child kidnapped from a sick mother. "Matilda," Robert said, approaching the woman who remained seated in a corner, "how exactly did Lily come to you? I'm not saying anything else. Talk, or things will get much worse for you," Robert threatened. "Child trafficking can get you life in prison." Matilda hesitated, weighing her options. Finally, she said, a man brought her and 2 other girls 3 months ago. He said the mothers were too sick to care for them and that I should find families for them. What man? I don't know his name. A tall, bald man who said he worked at the hospital. And you believed him? He paid me well to take care of them. The admission confirmed that Matilda was an accomplice in a larger scheme. Someone was identifying vulnerable mothers at the hospital and removing their daughters to sell them on the illegal adoption market. Where are the other 2 girls who came with Lily? Brenda asked. Matilda fell silent. Matilda, answer. Where are they? They went to families. What families? With what documentation? I don't know. The bald man handled that part. Arthur felt the urgency of the situation grow. If there were other children being sold to unknown families, every minute of delay made it harder to recover them. Just then his phone rang. It was Helen. Mr. Sterling, something's happened here, she said in a worried voice. What is it? A woman showed up at the door saying she's Lily's mother. She's very upset, crying and demanding to see her daughter. Arthur's heart raced. What does she look like? Thin brown hair, seems to be ill. Looks like she came straight from the hospital. Helen, don't let her in. Tell her we're on our way back now. Sir, she's very desperate. Says she's been looking for her daughter for weeks. Don't let her see Lily until we get there. That's an order. Arthur hung up and turned to Robert and Brenda. Rachel Morgan is at my house. How did she find the address? Robert asked. I don't know, but we need to get back immediately. And the children here? Brenda asked. Take them to the county shelter. I'm going home. The drive back was tense and silent. Arthur drove over the speed limit, his mind working furiously to process all the new information. In just a few hours, he had discovered a child trafficking ring, rescued 6 children, and now faced the possibility of losing Lily to a mother he didn't even know existed. When they arrived at the mansion, they found a scene that broke Arthur's heart. A thin woman, clearly weakened by her recent illness, was sitting on the porch, crying profusely. She wore hospital clothes and still had a medical bracelet on her wrist. You have my daughter, she said as soon as she saw Arthur. Please, I just want my Lily back. Mrs. Morgan? Yes. Where is she? Is she okay? What have they done to my girl? Arthur looked at the woman and saw genuine desperation in her eyes. This was not the behavior of someone who had voluntarily abandoned a child. She's fine, he said. She's inside the house. Can I see her, please? Before Arthur could answer, Lily appeared at the door. She had heard strange voices and came to investigate. When she saw Rachel, her reaction was immediate and devastating. She froze for a moment as if she couldn't believe what she was seeing. Then she started to cry and ran toward her mother. "Mommy! Mommy!" she cried, throwing herself into Rachel's arms. "My baby!" Rachel sobbed, hugging her daughter as if she would never let go. "Mommy looked for you everywhere. Mommy never stopped looking." Arthur watched the reunion with a mixture of deep joy and sadness. It was obvious that the bond between mother and daughter was real and strong, but it was also obvious that this meant the end of his dreams of forming a family with Lily. "Mommy, where were you?" Lily asked between tears. "I looked for you in the big city, but I couldn't find you." "Mommy was very sick in the hospital, my love. Some bad men said they would take care of you while I got better, but they lied." Lily pulled away from her mother slightly and looked around. "Where's Chloe? She'll be so happy to see you." Rachel frowned, confused. "Who's Chloe, my love?" "My sister. She took care of me this whole time. She's right here next to me." Arthur and Robert looked at each other. The moment of truth had arrived. "Lily," Rachel said gently, "my love, you don't have a sister. You're an only child." The confusion on Lily's face was painful to see. She looked at the empty space beside her, then at her mother, then at Arthur. But Chloe, she was always with me. She protected me. My daughter, Rachel said, hugging her again. Maybe Chloe was a very special friend you created so you wouldn't feel alone. But now Mommy is here and you don't need her anymore. No, Lily suddenly screamed, pulling away from her mother. Chloe is real. She's here. You can't see her because you're adults. The child ran into the house, leaving the adults in an awkward and painful situation. She created an imaginary sister, Arthur explained to Rachel. It was how she dealt with the abandonment, the separation. My God, Rachel murmured. What did they do to my girl? Brenda approached. Mrs. Morgan, I'm a social worker. Lily has been through some traumatic experiences, but with proper support, she will recover completely. I want to take my daughter home today. I understand your urgency, Brenda said, but perhaps a gradual transition would be better. Lily has developed bonds here that cannot be broken abruptly. This is not her home, Rachel said firmly. Her home is with me. At that moment, they heard Lily screaming from inside the mansion. Chloe, don't go. Please, don't leave me alone again. The child's desperate cry echoed in the hearts of everyone present, marking the beginning of one of the most difficult transitions any of them had ever faced. Lily's cries from inside the house cut through the hearts of everyone present. Rachel stood up immediately, her maternal instinct overriding any protocols or recommendations from the social workers. I need to go to her, Rachel said, heading for the door. Wait, Arthur requested. Let me talk to her first. She might get even more confused if we all go in at once. She's my daughter, Rachel replied firmly, but her voice trembled with emotion. I know her better than anyone. You know the Lily from 3 months ago, Brenda said gently. The child in there has been through experiences that have changed her. We need to be careful. Arthur entered the house and found Lily huddled under the stairs, talking desperately to the empty space beside her. Chloe, please don't go now, she sobbed. Mommy's back, but I still need you. What if she leaves again? Lily, Arthur said softly, sitting on the floor near her. Your mother isn't going to leave again. How do you know? She asked, looking at him with eyes red. From crying. She left before. She didn't leave, little one. She got very sick, and bad men separated you from her. But Chloe said Mommy's always leave in the end. The phrase revealed the depth of the trauma Lily had developed. Her imaginary friend wasn't just a companion. She was also a voice that reinforced her fears of abandonment. Chloe was wrong about that, Arthur said. Some mummies get sick, but that doesn't mean they stop loving their daughters. Are you going to leave too now that Mommy is back? The question hit Arthur head on. It was the same doubt that had been tormenting him since Rachel appeared. I don't know yet, he answered honestly, but I can promise you one thing. Even if you go live with your mom, you can always visit me. I'll always be your friend. And Aunt Helen? Aunt Helen too. Lily thought for a moment, consulting her invisible Chloe. Chloe said, maybe it's time for me to learn to be without her. What do you think about that? I'm scared, she admitted. Chloe always protected me. Without her, I'll be alone again. But you won't be alone. You'll have your mom, and you can come, here whenever you want. At that moment, Rachel appeared at the living room door. She had heard part of the conversation, and her eyes were full of tears. Lily, she said softly, can I sit here with you? Lily nodded shyly. Rachel sat on the floor, keeping a respectful distance. My daughter, I'm so sorry I was away from you. Mommy was very, very sick, and when I woke up in the hospital, you weren't there anymore. Where was I when you got sick? You were with a neighbor who promised to take care of you, but she lied too. Mommy, she gave you to people who shouldn't have had you. Lily processed the information slowly. Grandma Matilda said you had gone away forever. Grandma Matilda lied, my love. Mommy would never, ever leave you by choice. Promise? I promise with all my heart. Lily looked at the space where she imagined Chloe to be. Chloe wants to tell you something. Rachel looked confusedly at Arthur, who gestured for her to go along with it. What does Chloe want to say? Rachel asked. She said she took good care of me while you couldn't, but now it's time for her to go because you're back. And what did you say to her? I said I'm scared to be without her. You know what I think, Rachel said, choosing her words carefully. I think Chloe was an angel, God sent to take care of you while Mommy couldn't. And now that Mommy is back, she can rest. The explanation seemed to make sense to Lily. Can she come visit us sometimes? Of course she can. Angels can always visit us when we need them. It was the first time someone had acknowledged the importance of Chloe in Lily's life without trying to abruptly eliminate her. Rachel's approach demonstrated a maternal sensitivity that impressed even Brenda. Mommy, Lily said hesitantly, I liked living here with Uncle Arthur and Aunt Helen. I know, my love. They took very good care of you. Can I still visit them? Rachel looked at Arthur. If they want to have us, of course you can. You will always be welcome here, Arthur said immediately. At that moment, Helen entered the room with a tray of sandwiches and juice. Her eyes were red, clearly moved by the situation. I thought you might be hungry, she said, her voice heavy with barely disguised emotion. Aunt Helen, Lily said, getting up to hug her. This is my mom. A pleasure to meet you, Rachel said, standing up as well. I want to thank you for taking such good care of my daughter. It was a pleasure, Helen replied, fighting back tears. She brought so much joy to this house. Brenda, who had observed the entire interaction, approached Rachel. Mrs. Morgan, we need to discuss some practical matters. Are you in a position to care for Lily immediately? I'm medically cleared, I'm better. And housing, work, family support. Rachel hesitated. I'm still organizing those things. I was so focused on finding Lily that I didn't think much about the rest. May I make a suggestion? Arthur said. Why don't you both stay here for a few days while you get organized? Lily can gradually adjust to the idea of leaving, and you can have time to plan for the future. I don't want to be a burden, Rachel said. You wouldn't be a burden. It would be a pleasure. Lily clapped her hands excitedly. I can show Mommy my room and teach her how to do the embroidery that Grandma Matilda taught me. The mention of Matilda brought back the reality of the legal situation that still needed to be resolved. Brenda, Arthur said, what's the situation with Matilda and the other children? Matilda has been arrested. She's being charged with child trafficking and abuse. The 6 children we found are at the county shelter temporarily while we try to locate their families. And the bald man she mentioned? We're still investigating, but with the testimony of the children and Matilda, we'll be able to track him down. Rachel turned pale. Were there other children in the same situation as Lily? There were, and there are probably more we haven't found yet. My God, Rachel murmured, hugging Lily tighter. Something much worse could have happened. That evening, a strange but welcoming dynamic settled into Arthur's mansion. Rachel was settled in the room next to Lily's, and the girl insisted on having dinner at the large dining room table with everyone present: herself, Rachel, Arthur, and Helen. It's like a big family, Lily commented cheerfully, eating the pasta Helen had prepared. It is, Rachel agreed, looking around the table. A very special family. After dinner, while Lily played in the living room, with some toys Arthur had bought for her, the 3 adults talked in the kitchen. Rachel, Arthur said, may I ask about your plans? Where will you go when you leave here? I don't know yet, she admitted. Before I got sick, I worked as a cleaner in a few houses. I'll try to get those jobs back, and there's a small room I used to rent, if it's still available. Lily is used to more space now, Helen observed, and to a structured routine, educational activities. I know I can't give her what you can, Rachel said, her voice filled with sadness and insecurity. But I'm her mother. That's not what I meant, Helen said quickly. I was just thinking about how to ease the transition. Arthur took a deep breath. Rachel, what if I offered you a job? I need someone to organize the inventory at the supermarkets. It pays well, and you'd have flexible hours to take care of Lily. Rachel looked at him suspiciously. Why would you do that? Because Lily is happy when you're happy, and because you both have become important to me. I need to think about it. Of course, you don't have to answer now. But just then, Lily ran into the kitchen. Mummy, Chloe wants to say goodbye. Say goodbye? Rachel asked. She said that now that you're back, and I have a big family, she can go rest. Lily went to a corner of the kitchen and began to talk quietly to the air. After a few minutes, she turned to the adults with tears in her eyes, but also with a smile. Chloe said thank you to all of you for taking care of me, and she said she'll always be in my heart, even if I can't see her anymore. At that moment, they all understood they were witnessing an important milestone in Lily's development. The moment she was able to say goodbye to her imaginary friend in a healthy way, replacing her with real and secure relationships. The following days were a period of delicate adjustment for everyone in Arthur's mansion. Rachel had agreed to stay temporarily, but the tension was palpable. She was clearly uncomfortable with the opulence of the house and with Arthur's generosity, interpreting every gesture as a demonstration that she couldn't provide the same for Lily. Mommy, why are you sad when Uncle Arthur talks to you? Lily asked one morning as they had breakfast in the kitchen. Rachel was sitting stiffly in her chair, eating only a piece of toast while watching Lily devour pancakes with maple syrup that Helen had prepared. I'm not sad, my love, Rachel lied. Mommy's just thinking about a few things. Thinking about what? About how we'll live when we leave here. Lily stopped eating and looked seriously at her mother. Can't we stay here forever? No, my daughter, this isn't our house. But Uncle Arthur said we can stay as long as we want. Uncle Arthur is being polite, but we can't abuse his kindness. Just then, Arthur entered the kitchen, dressed for work. Over the last few days, he had noticed the growing distance Rachel kept from him, and it bothered him deeply. Good morning, he said, pouring himself some coffee. Lily, how about you and your mom come see the supermarkets today? I can show her where the job I offered would be. Can we, Uncle Arthur? Lily asked excitedly. That's not necessary, Rachel said quickly. I've already decided I'm going to look for my old jobs. Rachel, Arthur said, sitting at him, the table. Can I speak frankly with you? Of course. I'm sensing that you're uncomfortable here. Did I do something to offend you? Rachel sighed, looking at Lily, who was following the conversation intently. It's not that you did anything wrong. It's that I see how my daughter has flourished here, how she's used to nice things, and I know I can't give that to her. Rachel, material possessions aren't the most important thing. Easy to say when you have material possessions, she replied with a bitterness that surprised everyone. Lily, sensing the tension, got out of her chair and went to her mother. Mommy, I don't want things. I want you. I know, my love, but you deserve to have both. Both what? Your mother and a good life. Arthur took a deep breath. Rachel, can I talk to you in private? Lily, go play in the living room for a bit, Rachel requested. Mommy will be right there. When they were alone, Arthur tried a different approach. Rachel, I understand your concern, but you're creating a dilemma where one doesn't need to exist. What do you mean? You're thinking you have to choose between giving Lily a comfortable, material life or being her mother. But there's a third option. What option? Work here, live here, raise Lily here, but as an employee and a tenant, not as a dependent. Rachel frowned. You're proposing that I live in your house? I'm proposing that you live in the apartment above the garage. It's independent, has 2 bedrooms, its own kitchen. You would work in the administrative office of the supermarkets, with a fair salary and flexible hours. And why would you do that? Arthur hesitated before answering. Because I love Lily as if she were my own daughter, and because I respect you as her mother. I don't want to take her from you, but I also don't want to lose her completely. The raw honesty of his answer left Rachel silent for a long moment. Arthur, don't you have children of your own? No. My ex-wife and I tried, but it didn't work out. The marriage ended, and I convinced myself I would never be a father. And now? Now I've discovered that being a father doesn't necessarily have to do with biology. It has to do with love, protection, commitment. Lily awakened that in me. Rachel looked out the window, watching Lily play in the garden. The girl was talking to herself, but without the anguish of the first few days. She seemed to be simply playing make-believe, like any healthy child. And if I accept this arrangement, she said slowly, what would our relationship be like, yours and mine? It would be 2 adults committed to the well-being of the same child. Nothing more, nothing less. And Lily? How would she understand this situation? She would understand that she has a mother who loves her and an uncle who also loves her, and that they can all live closely and happily. Just then, Robert arrived with news that would once again change the course of the situation. His face was serious as he entered the kitchen. Arthur, Rachel, I need to talk to you. It's about Matilda's case. What happened? Arthur asked. Matilda made a deal with the prosecutor. She confessed to everything in exchange for a reduced sentence. And there's disturbing information. Her scheme involved not only selling children for irregular adoption, but also other purposes. Rachel turned pale. What other purposes? Child labor. Some children didn't go to families. They went to people who used them as cheap labor on farms or in clandestine workshops. The silence that followed was heavy. Arthur felt nauseous thinking about what could have happened to Lily if she hadn't run away. And the children we found? He asked. 3 of them have already been reunited with their biological families, but 2 families still haven't been located. And one, Robert hesitated. What about one? One of them, Amanda, apparently has no family. Her mother died in an accident, and there are no known close relatives. Arthur immediately thought of the 5-year-old girl he had found hiding under the bed at Hope Farm. What's going to happen to her? She'll be put up for legal adoption through the official system. And how long does that take? Months, maybe years. At that moment, Lily ran into the kitchen. Uncle Robert, did you come to see if I'm okay? I did, little princess, Robert replied, picking her up. And are you okay? I am. Mommy's back, and we're going to be together forever now. That's great. And do you still remember Amanda, the girl who was at Grandma Matilda's house? Lily's face lit up. I remember. She was really nice to me. Where is she? She's in a safe place, being well taken care of. Can I visit her? Robert looked at Arthur and Rachel. Maybe, if your parents agree. Of course she can, Rachel said immediately. It would be good for her to keep in touch with someone who went through the same experience. Actually, Robert said, there was something else I wanted to discuss. Amanda has been asking about Lily constantly. Apparently, Lily was like a little sister to her at Matilda's house. Can she come visit us? Lily asked, hopefully. Well, Robert said, looking meaningfully at Arthur, there is a Possibility. If someone wanted to file for adoption for Amanda, the suggestion hung in the air like a bomb. Arthur immediately understood what Robert was implying. Robert, are you suggesting that... I'm suggesting you have the resources, emotional stability, and a genuine motivation to care for traumatized children, and that Amanda already knows and trusts you. Rachel looked at Arthur with a new expression in her eyes. For the first time since she had arrived, she seemed to be seeing him not as a threat to her motherhood, but as someone genuinely committed to the well-being of vulnerable children. Arthur, she said slowly, if you really want this, if you really want to build a family, maybe we can do this together. Together how? As an unconventional family, but a real one. You, me, Lily, and maybe Amanda, each with our own role, but all committed to each other. The proposal was revolutionary and risky. It meant completely redefining the concept of family they all had. Would it be like a mother and father sharing responsibilities? Arthur asked. It would be like two adults who respect each other, raising children together, regardless of romance. "Mommy," said Lily, who had heard the whole conversation. "Does that mean Uncle Arthur is going to be my heart daddy?" "It means we're going to be a heart family," Rachel replied, looking at Arthur. "If that's what we all want." For the first time in days, Arthur felt a genuine hope that maybe it was possible to have it all. Lily, a family, and still make a difference in the lives of other children like Amanda. The decision to form an unconventional family brought a series of practical challenges that no one had anticipated. In the days following the conversation with Robert, Arthur and Rachel found themselves navigating completely unknown waters, trying to establish boundaries, responsibilities, and expectations without any instruction manual. The first complication arose when they went to visit Amanda at the county shelter. Lily had insisted on bringing some of her new toys to share with her friend, but when they got there, they found a girl completely transformed by her traumatic experience. Amanda, who had once been outgoing and protective of the other children, was now withdrawn and suspicious. When she saw Lily, her eyes filled with tears, but she didn't approach. "Amanda," Lily said excitedly, "I brought you toys." And Mommy said, "Maybe you can come live with us." "I don't want to," Amanda murmured, shrinking into her chair. "I don't want to go to another house." The rejection took everyone by surprise. Brenda, who was accompanying them on the visit, later explained that Amanda had developed a deep aversion to change after everything she had been through. She was removed from her mother's home when her mother died, taken to Matilda's, then removed from there to here, Brenda explained. In her mind, every change means trauma. "But we're not like Matilda," Rachel protested. "Amanda doesn't know that. To her, all adults who promise good things end up causing pain." The visit ended with Amanda refusing to talk and Lily confused about why her friend didn't want to stay with them. On the way home, Lily asked a question that broke everyone's heart. "Mommy, is it because I'm not the same person I was before? Does Amanda not like me anymore?" "That's not it, my love," Rachel replied, hugging her daughter in the back seat of the car. "Amanda is hurt on the inside, just like you were when you arrived at Uncle Arthur's house. But I got better, and she will get better too. She just needs time." Arthur, driving in silence, reflected on how he had underestimated the complexity of helping traumatized children. His experience with Lily had been relatively smooth because she had come to him at a moment of desperation when any help was welcome. Amanda, on the other hand, was in a defensive state, protecting herself from more disappointment. That night, while Lily slept, Arthur and Rachel had their first serious conversation about the real challenges of forming a family with adopted children. "Maybe we're not ready for this," Rachel said, sitting on the porch with a cup of tea. "Maybe it's naive of us to think we can just open our home and solve these children's traumas." Do you want to give up? Arthur asked. I don't know. Do you? Arthur thought for a long moment. No, but I also don't want to cause more trauma for Amanda by forcing a situation she doesn't want. What if we try a different approach? Instead of trying to adopt her immediately, what if we offer to be a support family? Visit her regularly, let her come here when she wants, without pressure. Do you think that would work? I don't know, but at least we wouldn't be forcing another drastic change in her life. The conversation was interrupted by Lily, who appeared on the porch in her pajamas, carrying her teddy bear. I can't sleep, she said. I keep thinking about Amanda alone at the shelter. Come here, little one, Rachel said, pulling her daughter into her lap. Amanda isn't alone. There are other children there and people taking care of her. But she doesn't have a family, just like I didn't have a family when Chloe was taking care of me. Lily's observation brought a new perspective to the situation. She understood better than any adult what Amanda was feeling. Lily, Arthur said, what do you think we could do to help Amanda? We could visit her every day until she believes we're not going to disappear. Every day might be too much, Rachel said, but we can visit several times a week. And we can bring her things she likes. Amanda loved it when Grandma Matilda made sweet bread. Maybe Aunt Helen can make some for her. The simplicity of Lily's suggestion contrasted with the complexity of the adult's analyses. Sometimes small, consistent gestures were more effective than grand declarations. Over the next 2 weeks, they established a routine of visiting Amanda. Lily always brought something small, a drawing, a cookie, a flower from the garden. Gradually, Amanda began to open up again. The turning point came one afternoon when Amanda was particularly sad. A family had come to the shelter looking for a child to adopt, but had chosen another girl. Amanda, who had already experienced several similar rejections, was inconsolable. Why does nobody want me? She asked Lily during the visit. I want you, Lily replied simply. I always wanted you as my sister. But you have your mom now. You don't need me. Of course I do. You protected me at Grandma Matilda's house. You taught me not to be afraid when she got mad. Amanda looked at Rachel and Arthur. And you? Do you really want to take me to your house? We do, Arthur said, but only if you want to come. What if I don't fit in? What if I do something wrong? Then we'll talk and figure it out together, Rachel replied. That's what family is. People who stick together even when things get tough. Like Lily was with Chloe? Exactly, like Lily was with Chloe until she didn't need her anymore. On that visit, Amanda agreed for the first time to leave the shelter to spend an afternoon at Arthur's house. It was a test for everyone, for her, who needed to trust again, for Lily, who would have to share attention, and for the adults, who would face the dynamic of 2 traumatized children. The afternoon was revealing. Amanda was impressed with the room they had prepared for her, simple but cozy, with a bed near Lily's and a few storybooks on the shelves. But what touched her most was when Helen showed her how to make the sweet bread she loved so much. At Grandma Matilda's house, only she could be in the kitchen, Amanda said, kneading the dough with her little hands. She said children only got in the way. You can help here whenever you want, Helen said. I like having helpers in the kitchen, even if I make a mess. Messes can be cleaned up. The important thing is to have fun doing it. At the end of the afternoon, when it was time for Amanda to return to the shelter, she was visibly sad. But instead of shutting down again, she made a request that surprised everyone. Can I come back tomorrow? Of course, Arthur said. You can come whenever you want. And can I sleep over one night to see what it's like? The adults looked at each other. It was a big step for both Amanda and for them. If the shelter allows it, you can, Rachel said. And if I like it, can I stay longer? Let's take it slow, said Brenda, who had accompanied the visit. But yes, It's possible. That night, while Amanda slept at the shelter and Lily slept at home, Arthur and Rachel made the final adjustments to the adoption papers. Robert had prepared all the documentation, and now it was just a matter of Amanda officially accepting to join the family. "Are you sure we're doing the right thing?" Rachel asked. "I'm sure we're trying to do the right thing," Arthur replied, "and whatever happens, these children will know they were loved." "And us? How will our relationship work?" "Honestly, I don't know. But I know I respect you. I trust you with Lily, and that I feel at home when you're here." "I feel at home here too. For the first time in years, I feel like I'm part of something bigger than myself. It was the beginning of something new, not a traditional romance, but a deep partnership based on shared goals and mutual affection. A family built not by chance or passion, but by conscious choice and commitment to the well-being of children who needed love and stability. But they didn't yet know that the biggest test of their new family was coming, in the form of a revelation that would question everything they thought they knew about Lily's past and the true reasons behind her separation from her mother. 3 months had passed since Amanda officially joined the family. The girl had adapted better than anyone expected, flourishing under the constant care of Arthur, Rachel, and Helen. Lily had become a protective older sister, teaching Amanda to read and sharing her toys without complaint. The unconventional family's routine had found its rhythm. Rachel worked at the supermarket's administrative office, Amanda and Lily attended a nearby private school, and Arthur had reduced his workload to be more present at home. Helen, who had initially resisted the idea of 2 children in the mansion, now couldn't imagine life without them. It was a typical Saturday morning when everything changed. Arthur was helping the girls with a puzzle in the living room when Robert arrived with a grave expression that immediately put him on alert. "Robert, what happened?" Arthur asked, noticing the lawyer avoided looking at Lily. "I need to talk to you and Rachel. It's urgent." "Girls," said Rachel, who was organizing some papers at the table, "why don't you go play in the yard? The adults need to talk." "Is it something bad?" Lily asked with the sharp intuition of a child who had been through many traumas. "It's adult stuff," Arthur replied, kissing her forehead. "Nothing you need to worry about." When the girls left, Robert sat down heavily in the armchair. "The investigation into Matilda's scheme has revealed something you need to know." "What did they discover?" Rachel asked, a cold feeling in her stomach. "The bald man Matilda mentioned has been identified and arrested. He confessed to everything in exchange for a reduced sentence. And he didn't work at the hospital, as Matilda said. He was a middleman who identified vulnerable mothers and facilitated the separation of their children." Arthur frowned. "What do you mean, facilitated?" "He paid people to create situations where the mothers were temporarily unable to care for their children. Then he would offer to help by caring for the children until the mothers recovered." "But the children never returned to their mothers," Rachel said, understanding the scope of the scheme. "Exactly. And Rachel," Robert hesitated, "your pneumonia wasn't natural." The silence that followed was deafening. Rachel turned pale, her hands trembling as she processed the information. "What are you saying?" she murmured. "I'm saying you were deliberately poisoned. The man confessed he paid someone to contaminate your food with a substance that would cause severe respiratory illness." "My God," Rachel whispered, covering her mouth with her hands. "They poisoned me to steal my daughter." "Apparently, yes. The plan was for you to get sick enough to be hospitalized, but not so sick that you would die. During your hospitalization, they would take Lily, claiming they were helping." Arthur stood up abruptly, walking to the window where he could see the girls playing innocently in the garden. "Robert, does this mean—" "It means Lily was the victim of a planned kidnapping, not abandonment due to neglect." Rachel began to cry, not from sadness, but from a deep anger that had been stored up for months. I knew something was wrong. I knew I would never voluntarily abandon my daughter, but everyone made me believe I was an irresponsible mother. Rachel, Arthur said, returning to sit beside her, you were never irresponsible. You were the victim of a crime. What if you hadn't found Lily? What if she had been sold to a family in another state, or worse? The question hung in the air like a phantom menace. They all knew the situation could have ended very differently. But we did find her, Robert said, and now we have all the information needed to prosecute everyone involved. How many other families went through this? Arthur asked. From the records they found, at least 15 cases in the last 3 years. 15 families destroyed by this scheme. And the other children? Some have been recovered. Others? We're still looking. Just then, Lily appeared at the living room door, sweaty and smiling from playing outside. Mommy, can I have some water? Of course, my love, Rachel said, quickly wiping away her tears. Why are you crying? Lily asked, approaching with concern. Mommy was just remembering when she got sick and was away from you, but everything's okay now. You're not going to get sick again, are you? No, my daughter, I'm never going to be away from you again. Lily hugged her mother and went to get water from the kitchen. When they were alone again, Robert continued, there's something else you need to know. The prosecutor wants Rachel to testify against the bald man and his accomplices. What kind of testimony? She asked. To detail everything she remembers from the days before the poisoning. People who visited her house, food she ate, anything suspicious. I remember some strange details, Rachel said slowly. A few days before I got sick, a woman showed up at my door saying she was from social services. She asked a lot of questions about Lily, about our routine. That woman may have been the one who identified you as a target, Robert said. Any information could be crucial. Robert, Arthur said, if Rachel testifies, could she be in danger? Could these men try to retaliate? It's a possibility, but the bald man has already confessed to everything. Rachel's testimony would be more to confirm details and help identify other accomplices. What if I don't want to testify? Rachel asked. What if I just want to move on with my life and forget all this? That would be understandable, Robert said. But think of other families who might be going through the same thing you did. Your testimony could help stop it. Rachel looked out the window, watching Lily and Amanda playing together, their laughter echoing through the garden. 2 children who had found safety and love after terrible traumatic experiences. I'll testify, she said finally. If it can prevent other children from going through what Lily went through, I'll testify. Rachel, are you sure? Arthur asked. It's an important decision. I'm sure. For months I blamed myself for abandoning my daughter. Now I know I was the victim, not the guilty one. And I want those responsible to pay. We'll make sure you have all the necessary protection, Robert promised, and that your participation in the process is as safe as possible. That afternoon, while the girls watched cartoons, Arthur and Rachel had a deep conversation about how the revelation changed their perspective on everything. You know what makes me the most furious, Rachel said, sitting on the porch with Arthur. It's that they didn't just steal 3 months of my daughter's life, they stole my confidence in myself as a mother. But you've regained that. Look at Lily now. She's a happy, secure, loved little girl. Thanks to you. If you hadn't found her at that mall, I found her because you raised a brave daughter who didn't give up on asking for help. Even when she was only 4 and completely alone, she had the courage to ask a stranger for help. Do you think we should tell her the truth about the poisoning, about the planned kidnapping? Arthur thought carefully. I think when she's older, she has the right to know the full truth. But for now, it's enough for her to know it was all the fault of bad people and that she's safe now. And what about Amanda? Do you think she went through the same thing? Brenda is investigating. But regardless of how Amanda ended up with Matilda, the important thing is that now she has a family that loves her. That night, as they put the girls to bed, Lily made a statement that perfectly summed up their journey. "Daddy Arthur," she said. She had started calling him that naturally a few weeks earlier. "Did you know that I used to have an imaginary sister, but now I have a real sister?" "I did know that, little one. And what do you think about it?" "I think Chloe was happy when she saw I didn't need her anymore, and now she's probably taking care of other children who are all alone." "She probably is," Arthur agreed, kissing her forehead. "And I'm going to take care of Amanda forever, just like Chloe took care of me." It was the final proof that despite all the trauma and difficulties, love had triumphed. A family had been built not by the bonds of blood or convention, but by the conscious choice of adults and children who decided to protect and love one another. But there was still one final chapter to be written in the story of Arthur, Rachel, Lily, and Amanda. A chapter that would forever seal the bonds they had built together. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel. I promise to bring you videos every day that will make your life happier. Comment what you thought of my story with a rating from 0 to 10, and thank you so much.